Next up is Dr. Tom George from Kalamazoo County. He has had 10 years of legislative experience as a state rep and a state senator, where he is currently chair of the Senate Health Policy Committee. Since 1985, Dr. George has also been a practicing physician in the Kalamazoo area, and he's continued that practice on a part-time basis while serving in the legislature. He's a U of M grad and is also a history buff. He served as the president of the Historical Society of Michigan. He has written and produced television documentaries about, among others, Abraham Lincoln. State Senator, candidate for the Republican nomination for governor, Dr. Tom George.
Thank you, Frank. It's great to be here with you this evening. I am a conservative, pro-life, citizen legislator from Kalamazoo. You don't know me yet, but you're going to get to. I chaired, just so you know a little bit about my background, in 2008, the statewide coalition with Right to Life to oppose the embryonic stem cell research measure. My wife of 28 years, Sandy, could not be with us this evening. She is providing parental supervision to our 15-year-old. But I am joined by my middle daughter, Maria, who is graduating from Michigan State next month. You heard I am a history buff. I have the yellow and red flyers, and if you take a look, you'll see that is a Lincoln hat over the G, Frank. And the reason for that is because Lincoln came to Kalamazoo in 1856. It was his only visit ever to Michigan. And he was invited by the founders of a new political party. They had formed out of a wave of activism. In 1854, they were mad at their U.S. Senator Lewis Cass, who had voted for a measure that would allow slavery to spread to the North. And what did they do? They had parties around the state. And they organized this new political force, which became the Republican Party, and they changed the course of history. And when they captured the Michigan legislature and the governorship in 1855, one of the first acts was to form a Michigan Agricultural College. The reason being is because they felt that applying science to farming was the North's answer to plantation economy. That was how Republicans countered the threat of slavery. Form an agricultural college, which became Michigan State. And I tell you this so you understand how the institutions they created, the things they did 150 years ago, helped shape the Michigan of today, and it touches us all. And now we are called in 2010, the activists of today, to make change, to form a new party, to make a change, a difference through the electoral process. We can do it just like our forebears of old. We can create a new Michigan and a new country for our children and our grandchildren. We have important decisions to make. You have an array of great Republican gubernatorial candidates. I'm the one that's a citizen legislator. I'm the only one who's serving in Lansing now. And I have an outside job. I put people to sleep. But it's time to turn off the anesthesia and wake up, Michigan. And we know what the task is ahead for the next governor. We've lost 1 million jobs. 1 million jobs this decade. How do we bring them back? I've asked some of you as you come in. I know what your answers are. You would say cut taxes. You would say smaller government. You would say fix the infrastructure. Fix our roads. You might say invest in education. Keep the prisoners locked up. But here's the problem. The state of Michigan is broke. It is following the same course that GM and Chrysler were following. Remember? They got to a point where they were spending more on health care than on steel. Then they went bankrupt. The state of Michigan now spends more on health care services than on education. We do not have an education governor. Under Governor Granholm, we have become the state to pay for health care services, and it has failed to make us more economically competitive. The key to turning Michigan around, to create that infrastructure, the key if you want to provide tax cuts to businesses, you can't just cut them now. The state will be insolvent. You have to cut spending. And the excessive spending is in state health care programs, regardless of what happens in Washington. If the Obama plan comes to fruition, if it's phased in as it's laid out, we will have a further encumbrance of 400,000 Medicaid recipients, which we cannot afford. But if we're successful in stopping that, and I hope you've signed the petition to try and stop it, even if we're successful, it's already breaking the bank. In the last decade, the number of Medicaid recipients has risen from 1 million to 1.8 million. It is the largest single expense in state government, and in order to fund it, we've cut funding for other important areas. And here's what's missing in all of these government health programs, whether it's President Obama's or Governor Granholm's. Here's what's missing. They forgot that the government cannot make you healthy by giving you a card. Your health depends on personal responsibility. It accounts for half of healthcare costs at least. Think of auto insurance. What if we said, it's a shame you don't have auto insurance here, the government will give you a card, but we don't care how you drive. That's what we are doing with healthcare. Let me tell you about a recent patient I had. I worked a 24-hour shift on Easter Sunday. I work hard. And a few months ago, I had a patient who had their meth lab explode in their face. He was seriously injured. He came into the hospital. He required multiple surgeries and skin grafts. He was in the hospital for a month. He was on a ventilator. He required anesthesia from his state senator. He was in a hospital where every room's a private room. Every room has color TV. We have valet parking. This is the healthcare bubble we are building, like the housing bubble. He survived. He got great care. It was a miracle. He was discharged from the hospital, and Frank, guess what happened? 2 months later. Can you believe it? Another meth lab explosion. What are the odds of that? I'm telling you so you understand how government health programs have failed. And we need a governor who will do what Governor Engler did with welfare. He said, we will help you recipients, but you have to look for a job. And we can do the same with state health programs, whether it's Medicaid or state employees. We can require personal responsibility. It can be done. A couple Democratic governors do it already. They require recipients to sign contracts. There's a whole series of other structural reforms that are necessary in order to fix Michigan, be it a part-time legislature, be it the budgeting reforms you've heard about, be it business tax reforms. Structural reforms are also necessary. A whole series of things. You can find many of them listed on my website, georgeforgovernor.com, under the Fix Michigan tab. I invite you to go there. I'm a good candidate. I want to be on the ballot to give you a choice. I need your help. I'm not as well known as the others, but I need to be there to give you a choice. So please, on your way out this evening, sign my petition to help get me on the ballot. Let's work together. And together, like the activists of old, we can turn Michigan around. We can give it the bright future it deserves. Let's work together and let's fix Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. George. Next up, Pete Hoekstra.